that good?
Yeah, that's proper. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I know it was kind of like backdoored in through the #1 EJ Boxing, the hype man of 2020. I'm a massive boxing fan, as you know. I don't know if you know, I'm a big Dillian Whyte fan. So getting to speak to you is a privilege for me. Heavyweight boxing is something that is very, very close to my heart. Introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about the man that's behind Dillian Whyte's training camp.
Oh yeah, I've been in boxing for a long time. Built up an amateur club. That was like in 2012. Some of the guys that were in my amateur club, they turned pro the same time I did. Mm-hmm. They're all doing really well. I've got a couple of super featherweights: Dennis Wahome, the Menace, Youssef Super Kamari, another super featherweight. Had K Prosper sent to me a couple of years ago, and he's gone on to win an English title, defended it. He's doing great. Yasser Algina, welterweight, 5-0. Adrian Redmond, super middleweight, 5-0. And and Julio Chavez, he's 3. Yeah, he had 3. Yeah, he had 2 fights with me. He's won 1 and lost 1. So I think he had about 4 pro fights. So, I mean, the guys that I'm building, on the circuit, they're all doing really well. So, we're in a good place, and been involved in quite a few big fights. So, yeah, it's what me and my business partner had put together. We planned, to build IQ Boxing, build a stable, and for all the guys to turn pro. And this was the year that we really wanted to start going for titles. But obviously, this year has not been good for anybody. So next year, we're looking to move forward. But yeah, everything's going really well.
Yeah. Because I've got here that yourself and your co-owner set up the Boxing IQ. You've currently got a gym in Neesden in North London. You set this goal out because you wanted to produce some really good amateur boxers and push them into the pro sport itself. So I can see that you've been in boxing for quite a long time. I'm going to sort of little bit fast forward with that, because I didn't realise that you initially worked with Derek Chisora.
Oh yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Not really that much to tell, to be honest with you. When I opened my amateur club, I knew of Don Charles's gym. Don had been in boxing for a long time, and I went to see it. The first time I actually met him, I went down to him and said, "Listen, I want to start my own amateur club. I want to try and help the young people, and give them a safe environment to go and learn, boxing. Try and prevent knife crime and gun crime and so on." And I said, "I'd like you to come down and officially open my gym with me, so I can get the local papers to come down and let all the locals know this is what we're doing here."
Yeah.
And he said I'd be honoured to do it. He said I didn't know that's what you actually came down to see me for, because normally guys just come down just to talk simply just about sparring or just to see his gym.
Yeah.
So he actually, on the day, you don't know if people are going to turn up. It's the first time I'd met him when I actually went down there.
Yeah. And
yeah, he turned up on the day. We officially opened, and since then we've been at a very good relationship. A lot of my guys, the guys that I was building, I used to take them down to Don's gym. He let me use the gym. He said, "Listen, if Zav's here, let Zav do what he wants." And then, a short while later, he said to me, he just called me randomly and said, "Listen, I've got some fights this weekend. I want you to be in the corner." And he just said to me, "Just don't question it. Just come."
Okay.
He said, "I can see exactly. I can see where you're going and what you're doing. You know exactly what it is that you're doing, but this will help you down the line." So I said, "Okay." So I took my stuff and went. And I didn't know that, to be honest, at that time I didn't even really know the boxers I just see the guys in and around the gym. So I'm just there as the second person in the corner, or maybe sometimes as a third person, because he's always got Ian with him as well. Ian Dewberry, another great guy. But that's really where it all started, So I think I was in the corner for Frank Buglioni, and Derek at 2 a few years ago.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and then I think that was one of maybe one of his comeback fights, and then the Takam fight obviously was great. And I think the last fight I was involved with was actually his rematch against Dillian. So
wow.
Yeah, I've been around a little while. So yeah, it's just, it's boxing.
Yeah. So how did you get into boxing in the first place? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into boxing.
Yeah, I very very rarely like to really talk about it too much, because it wasn't a good time, because I'd actually got really really deep into boxing. My uncle actually got me into boxing at maybe around the age of 11.
Yeah.
And then there was an after school program, and I met my coach at this after school program.
Yeah.
And he started training me in his own setup at home. He had a very small gym in his garage.
Yeah.
We became very very close. He was building me to be a champion. And the guys that he brought down, I was beating them easily. He was just a very very good teacher. And we just sometimes with a coach you just click, and we had that.
Yeah.
And then just under a year, because I used to go there after school sometimes, and then went down to see him, and knocked the door, and his wife opened up and said that he'd gone. And I said, "What do you mean he's gone?" Said he'd passed away. So
wow.
he'd left a letter for me, and then I really didn't want to be involved in boxing for a while after that. So
wow.
that was a very dark time, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Kind of got interested in it again down the line, and I said, you know what, I don't really want to. I went to a few clubs, amateur clubs, but no disrespect to them, but they weren't on the level of this guy in terms of coaching. So I couldn't find a comfortable fit anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'd go to gyms, I'd take my stuff, and I was flying up and down all over the place. I'd go down to Manchester, Liverpool. I didn't really care. I just got on the train and just went. Because my uncle said to me from early, you should never think that someone could beat you. So I always went there thinking I could just beat everybody up. So I was there. They could bring the best guy. I never had no problem with them. And he always said to me, "Oh, can you come back next week?" And I said, "No," because my coach said to me, when you go to the gym,
yeah,
you don't need to go back. If you go there and you've done what you need to do, you don't need to go back. You see, if you get beaten up, then fair enough. Then you should want to get back at them.
Score, yeah.
But he said if you beat them, then you don't need to go back the next week. He said just go to different gyms, and that was what he was going to do, was travel around with me. So I just continued doing that. Then I said, you know what, the amateurs, it's not really for me. I'm gonna turn pro. I'm gonna try and turn pro.
Yeah.
And failed the medical, so I could never get a professional boxing license. Walked away from it again for a while.
Yeah.
And then I just got into coaching. I met two really good, experienced coaches from All Stars. One is Ken Thomas. The other is Earl Austin.
Okay.
I used to go and train with them. One had a session on a Thursday. One had one on a Saturday. And it became fun again because, on the Saturday we'd spar. So I started getting into the physical side of it again.
Yeah.
And then just started getting involved in coaching. I went to Stonebridge Boxing Club, was probably my first gym that actually officially started coaching as an amateur boxing coach.
Yeah.
And I'd only been there for a very short while, no more than about a month. And the head coach gave me the key and said he knows what he's doing. So I started coaching the amateurs there, started leading a lot of the classes.
Yeah.
And then I left that gym, started looking for my own gym.
Yeah.
And lucky enough, I was driving one of my boxers home. That's actually my first fight I ever had. I was driving him home, and he lived in Neesden. And he said to me, there's a gym, but not a gym, but there's a community centre where they're doing boxing, like where I live, because there's hardly anyone ever there. So I said, okay, let's just pass down there. We went down there, and they were about to close it because there was no members. So I said to the ladies, the trustees who run the centre, I said, please just give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks here, and I'll show you, what I can bring.
Yeah.
But the first, within about 10, 12 days, had 30, 40 people in there. A lot of the guys that I'd coached in the two previous clubs I've been at, they followed me.
Yeah.
And we just started building from there. The idea of IQ Boxing Limited was, me and Nick thought of that idea way before we actually got a gym. And we never actually planned to have an amateur boxing gym. It's not what we wanted. we wanted a professional gym.
Right.
That's all we were interested in, was a professional gym. But once we actually got in the centre and realised that maybe the best way to get our guys some experience is just, you know, just to have a few amateur bouts.
Yeah.
And we'd actually had a cap as well. We were actually capping our bouts at like 20 bouts. Once the fighters had between 10 and 20, we were ready to go.
Right.
Because I didn't want them to stay I didn't want them to stay too long in the amateurs, but I didn't want anyone to develop an amateur boxing style, because I'd been taught a pro style. So even when I went to coach the other gyms, what I was teaching a lot of the guys, it was obviously a lot different to what the amateur boxing coaches were doing. And I always say, but with boxing, you should respect it. There's so much different ways to teach the sport. Yeah. I don't tell someone what they're doing is wrong. I just say, I've got my way, you've got your way, that's fine. And because I had my way, I wanted my own gym. Because I didn't want anyone to tell me how to train my fighters. I didn't want to do that. So that's why we went down that path. And then me and Nick decided to go on a judging course as well. So because we were so heavily into it, you know, we had to obviously register our own club. We had to do everything from scratch. So it was good that we'd had that experience. Yeah. And then someone told us that it was only like a day or 2 days course to learn to be a judge. Yeah. We said, okay, we'll just do it. So we started judging at some tournaments, judging at some bouts. And it did help, to be honest with you, because we were a small club and we were always up against bigger clubs. When they see you as a judge, it kind of evens the playing field. I don't want to get too much into the politics, but yeah, you know, obviously
it's like street cred, sort of, isn't it?
People know people. Yeah, exactly. People know people, and you want to be involved in that circle if you want a fair shake. But a lot of times that doesn't happen. But you know, at least for some of our fighters, it did. To be honest with you, it did actually help, and we actually got better results out of London. Okay. When we travelled out of London, we always seemed to get the win. It was always politics in London, so we didn't mind being the away fighter, because I used to say to the guys, it doesn't really matter who's in the crowd. I say, it's just you and them in the ring. Just make sure you win one-sided. And because we had that mentality and that ethos in the gym, the fighters used to give everything for the 3 rounds. Yeah. Whereas if you're fighting in London and you had some of your people there, you didn't feel you had to do as much.
Rest on your laurels.
Yeah, we used to. So that was me and Nick. We installed that into them. You know, we're going away from home, and everything's against us, and we have to come back with a victory. And the only way they were getting the wins, honestly, was to rob us up there. But to be honest with you, out of London, they weren't doing it very often. Okay. They weren't doing it very often. I remember one time in particular, I took one of my first boxers, Shaquille Johnson, probably one of the best fighters I've ever had. Yeah. But he hasn't managed to turn pro because he's injured. But we went a long way away out of London. Yeah. And he beat this guy, and the announcer gave it to the other guy. And even in the book, they wrote that my fighter won. And when the announcer had to hand the book back over to the officials, he was embarrassed. He just put his head down and just said, "I'm sorry." You know, and then we just got in the car, we just went back home. But it's lessons, you know. It just means that sometimes you have to try and knock the person out, or if you have that mentality, go hard all 3 rounds. So but it really good. It was a really good experience. I was so against it at first, like the whole amateur scene, because I didn't know anything about it. So we were getting involved in something really new. Yeah. So I in my mind, I thought, well, I didn't really need it when I was boxing. I just had a good coach. So what do I need an amateur boxing gym for? But you know what? When you don't know, you don't know. But now, it was probably the best thing that could happen to me and Nick, because, you know, it's the experience. Yeah. You know, I said this. I had an interview with EJ the other day, and I was saying the same thing to him. I said a lot of boxers, you know, who go on to win titles and so on, they're praised for their amateur background. Yep. But then you don't want to praise coaches for having an amateur background. That's backward. That's why I say it's crazy. Some people have that mentality where you want to just forget what guys have done in the amateurs. I mean, to me, that's wrong. Well, it shouldn't. That's not the way it should work. So I'm really glad we did it. To be honest with you, I'm glad.
So from when you decided, okay, you're gonna have to. You had an interest in boxing, and you had to take a career change, and you thought, okay, I fell back in love with the sport. I'm going to start now looking at the amateurs, turning them into pro. How long was your time span in the boxing world at that point?
That's a good question. So if I started at 11,
11. Okay.
I started at 11. I met my boxing coach at 14.
Yeah.
Lost him at 15. I was about 15, 16 when he died.
Wow.
Didn't really get involved in boxing for a good maybe 6 years, 7 years maybe.
Okay.
Then got back into it. Yeah, couldn't pass a medical.
Yeah.
And I think I started coaching maybe, I might have been about 27, maybe. About 27 years I started coaching.
Yeah.
But that was unofficial. I mean, that wasn't involved in an amateur boxing club and so on. That was me just trying to build guys from scratch.
Yeah.
Which is what I love more than anything else. I like, what will actually make me feel like I've achieved something is if one of the guys from my club that I've built end up with a title. And when I say a title, I don't mind if it's an English title, British title, you know, international, European, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as they've won something, you know, that's something to be proud of because you built them. You know, the two guys I actually started with, they'd never put on a pair of boxing gloves in their lives. You know, I was the first person to actually teach them boxing. It was ideal because I knew how they were both different, but I knew how I wanted them to box. So it was quite easy to mold them into what I wanted. It took a lot of time, you know. It took a lot of beatings as well doing it, but you know, once they got it and it clicked, no one could touch them. Nobody could touch them.
So tell me about Xavier's style then. You said that you teach them the way that you want them to box. Tell us a little bit about your style.
Well, when I boxed, my style was more because my coach was actually originally from Malta, but he'd actually coached in Detroit.
Right.
So my style was I'd say it's a little bit similar to like someone like Ian Napper.
Okay.
Ian Dapper Napper, who's a former British champion. Great fight. Great fighter, a good friend as well.
Yeah.
It's relaxed. I like to roll shots off my shoulders and so on.
Right.
So that was my style. But I think what changed my mentality was when we actually officially opened the amateur boxing club, because then you had a lot of different fighters who fight a lot of different ways. Southpaw orthodox, come forward, counter punchers, aggressive guys, and they could not fight like me. So I had to learn to teach different styles. The foundation was there, but then I had to learn to adapt how they wanted to box. And I think that was probably the biggest learning lesson I'd ever had in boxing, was learning to work with different styles. Because most coaches, they're labelled for having a certain style.
Yes, and that's why I was going. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. That's the one thing I was desperately trying to avoid.
Okay.
I didn't want them to say, yeah, you should go to Xav because Xav teaches guys like this. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted them to say, go to Xav because he's a good coach. Obviously, I have a preference, but you know, I just wanted to be seen as versatile.
Yeah.
And I never try to change. If I get a fighter that's already boxed before, I don't ever try and change them. I modify it and change things what they're doing, but I don't change how they box, because coaches, they get stuck in a pattern where they want boxers to either box one particular way or what they want them to box like how they would box.
Yeah,
that also can be a problem. It's okay if your whole life is dedicated to one person, like obviously Floyd may have seen it to his son. Yeah, you know, obviously Kawasaki to his son. Yeah, if that's you know, that's your role. You're only ever going to coach that person. That's different, but not when you're trying to, you know, have a gym of fighters.
Yeah, yeah. That's quite interesting actually, because you do speak to different people, different coaches, different trainers, and they do put their footprint or their kind of like their base model on the fighters, but they do like the fighters to keep a more natural style. Otherwise it gets awkward in the ring and they don't know what they're doing. And that's how you can get counter punched and knocked out. We've seen that. So moving through that then, you know, obviously Dillian Whyte, you move on to him. He's been training with Tibbs, as we know, since his loss to AJ. That's when he came on the radar for me. Tibbs has got him on a run of wins. I've got here that you were with him. You was with Dillian Whyte when he fought Oscar Rivas. If it's before that, please correct me. But if it wasn't, tell me a little bit about how you met Dillian and how
I wasn't involved in the Rivas fight. I met Dillian shortly after.
Wikipedia. You just can't trust it.
I met Dillian just slightly after that fight. I think I was involved in the WAC fight. He called me and asked me to come there.
Yeah.
And I was training him for quite a while before that. So he was coming to my gym, and we were doing training bits and pieces here and there. And then we went out to Saudi. But and then last fight. But I've been involved with Dillian probably. But this year's gone so fast now. It's almost like this year's a write-off now. This year.
Yeah.
It's just strange, isn't it?
Very.
I might have known Dillian for maybe a year and a half, maybe a year and a half, just over.
So tell us about how that relationship started and developed to what we know it to be now.
Yeah, I mean, when Dillian first came to my gym, you know, we started doing some work here or there, and Dillian works, you know, a couple of other gyms. And when he was sparring and stuff, you know, I used to go and watch and just support and just be, you know, around him, understand exactly what it is that he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Because he wanted me to involve in his team. And just develop from there. You know, we just got a like for boxing. Not just talking about him, not just him fighting. You know, Dillian, he does study the game. Yeah. He's got very good knowledge of boxing. You know, he's very good at reading fights. He's just a very intelligent guy. And you know, he knows how deep I am into my boxing, and sometimes we have discussions, sometimes we go back and forth. So that's really where it, you know, developed and gelled. You know, it's just strictly talking about boxing.
You obviously started training with him. Was you training with him when Tibbs was training with him, and you were sort of like a second trainer, or? Yeah,
I would say we never really got time to really develop like that, to honestly, because you know, I'll train Dillian, then Mark will train him, but it wasn't a very long period. Maybe a couple of months. Yeah. Maybe.
Okay.
And then, you know, we went out to Saudi.
Yep.
And, you know, and then listen, we've ended up out here. So it's just, and this year has been crazy.
Yeah, it has.
So yeah, I never really got a chance to really get to know Mark.
Yeah.
Or develop Mark. It never really happened. So
okay.
I don't know him like that. So
yeah. So then it's like, and this is me as a fan now, a fan of the sport, asking you, you're coming in as the main trainer. I remember when was it? Obviously it's during this lockdown, when we know that he's fighting Povetkin. And then we get the news, I think it's August this year, that Dillian's changed trainers. And I'm not going to lie, I fell off my chair because I was worried because of the change coming up to what, to me, what is a significant fight for Dillian, because he's always had to fight for his place at the table all the way through his career. He hasn't had any handouts. He hasn't had any help. He's self-made. He's had to shout the loudest. And then all of a sudden, the man that we know has helped him on his journey to get his wins, all of a sudden have parted ways. So I'm getting a bit nervous. I'm sure a lot of the fans were. So then from your point of view, as a trainer, how does it feel to you then? I mean, do you feel that pressure to deliver for Dillian because of what he's had so far with Tibbs? And that's an honest question for me as a real boxing fan.
I think it's a fair question as well, but I'm always straight. The only pressure I feel is from the people in my circle.
Okay.
So they know that, like a lot of guys have a lot of ideas and want to do a lot of things, but most of the time they know that Xav will do it.
Okay.
So the idea of opening a club, the idea of, you know, having amateurs, an idea of building fighters and getting them on the circuit, fighting for titles.
Yeah.
So all these people, that's the weight that I feel on my back is from them.
Right.
You know, they see me and, well, if Xav can do it, then, you know, I'm going to push a bit harder and try and work harder. Okay. And that's what me and Nick are trying to do. Yeah. You know, is trying to inspire and say, you know what, what's the next generation coming up?
Yeah.
So for them to see me in this position, that's the pressure. It's to deliver for them, not for anybody else. Yeah. It's not for anybody else.
Yeah.
Like I've been involved in big fights before, and because when you're involved with something in something for so long, I don't feel any pressure whatsoever because it feels natural. It doesn't matter if I'm walking out at your court. It doesn't matter if it's O2. It doesn't matter if it's in Saudi. It doesn't matter where it is. I feel the same when I walk from the dressing room to the ring. I feel the same. Yeah. I feel excited. I feel happy to be there. Yeah. And I just feel ready. And I've always felt that way about every fight. You know, just we train and prepare so hard that, you know, you just got to go and get the job done in the ring. I mean, Absolutely. The preparation for me is always the key. You know, obviously in Dillian's case, as I said, way before the fight. Yeah. This is by far, Dillian's toughest fight of his career. Yeah. Toughest fight of his career. Yeah. This guy is, to me, slightly different to anybody else that he's boxed. In terms of achievement. Like he's, you know, winning a gold medal. You know, ex-world champion. Yep. There's nothing he's not seen. There's nothing he's not seen. Mm-hmm. So to me, he was always a danger. Yeah. And then obviously, you're so close now. You know, you finally get your goal. You're so close. Oh. And it's just, you know, this is how cruel this game can be.
Oh, because, trust me.
You know, it's just in a blink of an eye, because as the fight is pretty much going as expected in my mind from obviously what we've been doing. Yes. Okay. So, you know, you go out for the fifth round and you don't think you got a problem. I mean, the guy goes down one more time, that they're going to call it. They're going to call it. Whether he was the referee or the corner is going to call that fight, because how many times can you go down? How many times can you get hurt? So when that shot landed, honestly, as I was as shocked as anybody. I mean, I'm in the same position as everybody watching it around the world. It's just like, where did that come from? But it's heavyweight boxing, and it's a cruel game. Very. And it's just the way it goes. You know, it's a good thing. Obviously, the rematch is there. Yeah. Very much looking forward to it. Yeah. But I don't dwell on the previous, because to me it doesn't. It won't help you move forward. Yeah. Yeah. It's already done. It was a disappointment for all of us. You know, on the night, major disappointment. But we got straight back into camp. Okay. And we're getting ready for that. We're getting ready for that date. Obviously, the date got pushed back because, you know, Prempeh with COVID, which is fair play. Yeah. But it's one of those ones where if you declare that you can't, at this stage, the current state of the country, you can't debate it. You know, if you say you got COVID, you got COVID. So the fight's been delayed. I think we're talking like maybe March 6th. That should be the date. Yeah. Really looking forward to it, in a really good place. And you know, it feels different now, because obviously I've had more time with Dillian as a head coach. Yes. The first time round, obviously, whatever happened, and you know, it wasn't a full camp per se. You know, obviously with one person in charge, because whatever happened. But now it feels good. That continuity, isn't there? Yeah, and I think it was important for me and Dillian to spend, you know, that time together and understand exactly what it is that we're looking to do. Yeah. But as I said to everybody, get this win, and Dillian is a problem for anybody, and they know it. That's why they haven't really, you know, they're not racing to fight Dillian, are they? Because they know the guy's a problem. No. You know, he's versatile. You know, Dillian works well up and down. You know, he's not scared to challenge anybody. It's Dillian is what boxing should be. You know, the guys you're supposed to want to challenge yourself and fight the best guys around. And the fact he keeps doing that over and over again,
Yeah, you have to respect that. You've got to respect that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, it was, you know, I was worried for Dillian because of the change. Yeah, because of whatever's going on behind the scenes, we're not going to know, but it just seemed so soon. So I'm starting to get paranoid and think, what's going on? You know, trying to,
which is fair, because obviously,
yeah,
the fans and people on the outside, they're only seeing one thing. They don't understand what goes on in camp, and you know. So
and that's why it's
I'll probably, if it's me on the outside and it's a different fight, I'll probably be thinking exactly how you're thinking, because obviously I'm a boxing fan as well, and I like partnerships, and obviously guys have been with guys for a long time. When they split, you're like, what happened here? But it's boxing, and like I say, it's not the first time, it's not going to be the last time that a boxer and a trainer are falling out. It happens all the time.
You're
Around the world, it happens all the time. Whether it's a week before a fight, 10 weeks, 6 months, it happens. It's another one of those things where people have to just learn to deal with it. There's no point complaining. It was a good journey, and it's done.
Yeah. I was complaining for me. No, I was just worried because of the change. I wouldn't say I was complaining because, you know, it's a completely different sport, but you have to look at Lewis Hamilton, who his father brought from the beginning. You know, his father sacrificed so much for Lewis Hamilton, and he was his manager for several years. And then that changed. It stopped. But did Lewis stop winning world titles? Did his driving deteriorate? No, it didn't. No. And that was him parting from his father. I think as boxing fans, we're massive on loyalty. And we sort of, you know, we wear our heart on our sleeves in boxing, and we get comfortable. We get into a comfort zone.
That's the key word. That's the key word.
Yeah,
that's
of
the
seeing a fighter with, absolutely.
They don't like change.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, what do you mean? He's wearing blue gloves instead of red. He always wears red, and it's like we're like that. We're creatures of, we like our comforts, and that is one of the reasons why I wanted to speak to you. I wanted to get to know you. I want everyone to get to know you so they can understand where you've come from, that you haven't just flown out of nowhere into Dillian Whyte's camp. You've been in boxing since the age of 11, and you've chose not to go away and give it up because it couldn't work for you as a boxer. You came back and you're paying it back. And that's why I have to admire trainers. That's why I love speaking to them, because they've also got a story. You know,
that's the key word what you said just now. Everybody has a story, and I say after a while, when you put the time in and put the work in, you know, people gravitate towards you. I mean, I've got, like I said, I think I've got six other professional boxers.
Yep.
And one that Dillian is now managing, and he's taken a real liking to him, and he probably, more than likely, he'll be on the undercard.
Yeah.
So people are going to see the fighters that I've built, you know, in time. So there's no rush. Me and Nick we've got a long-term plan, not a short-term.
Yeah.
You know, Dillian is another one of my boxers, but you know, I've got 6 other fighters, and I treat them all the same, because as far as I'm concerned, as long as they go on and achieve something, everybody's ceiling is different.
Yeah.
Just you know, it meant the world to Kay when he won his belt, because he'd actually failed at Southern Area level. And he said to me, he said, I'm getting older. I think Kay's 36 now, 36 or 37. He said to me, I don't want to leave the sport and not have achieved something. So when he won that belt, that was like his world title to him.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's the feeling that I want to give to people. You know, it's not just about a world title or a European title. Listen, it's a title. It's an achievement. Absolutely. You know, life's about trying to achieve something. And that's why, you know, I love Kay's story, because you know, you're talking 3 fights prior. You know, he held at Southern Area level. I mean, and he's gone on and won an English title and defended it. And now he should really, I mean, he's had a British title final eliminator, so he should really next fight be fighting for a British title. That's a great story for him. But I want to do that for all the boxers that I've got, especially the guys that have actually, I mean, some of them, they left their original amateur clubs, knew I was opening mine, they came to me.
Yeah.
Of course I want to honour them and give them, you know, as much opportunity as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And you know, the doors are starting to open now.
Yeah.
You know, boxing is timing. You know, you might not get it the first time, but if you really want it bad enough, you'll keep trying.
Yeah.
you're fine.
100%. I agree. 100% I agree with that. So going back to that fight again with the secondary coach, David Coldwell coming in. That was another thing that made me a little bit nervous. See, it's making me shift in my chair now. When you brought in a second, when I say second, sort of like David Coldwell is up there as well. So you've got two guys, you've got yourself and you've got him that are up there. How did that work in the corner with the Povetkin fight with Dillian?
Really well.
With the two of you?
Really well. I think he's a very sensible coach. You know, it's just about having a good understanding, you know, of the role that you're taking. Obviously, you know, he wasn't part of the camp,
yes,
but he was there as second coach in the corner.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, a lot of casual fans, they don't understand how boxing works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at the great fighters from the past. You might, you might only know that
there's
head
about
coach.
2 or 3, yeah.
But I'm telling you that there's guys in there. Sometimes they're even more experienced than the head coach.
Yeah.
A lot of times, because you know, a head coach can't see absolutely everything. I mean, me and Nick have got the best relationship in the corner because we watch 2 completely different things.
And you know
Nick,
each other as well. Yeah.
And we know each other well. And Nick was one of the best judges on the amateur circuit. You know, very rarely did Nick get about wrong. So if Nick nudges me in the corner and says, Zav, he's not doing enough, then I trust Nick to say to that fighter when he's sitting down, listen, you need to pick it up. And it's that sort of relationship that you need to have. But that again, that builds over time. But guys that have already been up at that level, like someone like Dave Coldwell, you know, he's been in big fights.
Yeah.
He knows how to behave in the corner. You know, and I like guys that are calm but direct. I'm not into the screaming and shouting and having a cheering section. That's not my kind of thing at all. Because of my nature, I'm a very calm, quite
I can see
calm
that.
person.
Yeah, I can see
so
that.
when I speak to my fighters, because we spend so much time around each other, they know when, you know, I need them to do something or when something's missing. They know in my body language. They know.
Yeah.
You know, if I say to them, listen, you've got a cut, but it's not a bad cut, they trust me. They know.
Yeah.
They know I'm always going to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
So it's just about building, you know, that relationship, and that bonds well over time. You know, it's not it. You know, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Because Dillian was doing really, really well. He hurt Povetkin a lot. You could see when he was getting in with the body shots that he was wincing. It was taking his breath away. I remember shouting at the TV and saying, "Please finish him. Just finish him now. I think you can just finish him. Don't let him back into the fight." And I remember Povetkin walking. This is before the knockout. He walked back into his corner, and I said to someone, "What are they saying to him?" And it was almost like Povetkin was saying, almost like he was saying, "Shall I do that move now?" Or "Go and do that move now." Almost like that uppercut. It's like he'd planned it. That was the strategy that they were going to use against Dillian. What are your thoughts on that?
No, that's not. What was happening there in their corner was he was in trouble. He was in deep. And he basically, if I'm in their corner, I would say something very similar, like, "I'll give you another round."
Okay.
You have to show me something.
Show me something.
Because the fight's getting away from us. You know, that's just good corner work. Because, like I say, he hadn't won a round and he'd been down twice. Yeah. So he had to find something, and that's why I give credit. You found it. Yeah. Fair play. Yeah. It's boxing. Like I say, I can't fault anybody in my team, because on the day everybody did their job. Magic did a good job in the corner. Yeah. Dave Cole was there supporting. He was giving Dillian sensible advice. You know, obviously you're doing a good job. You know, be defensively responsible. You know, obviously you know Povetkin's dangerous. You know, everything was going really well. Like I say, if it wasn't for that one shot, everybody be screaming that it was perfect. Yeah. But it's happened. Yeah. It's a result. It's a results business. Yeah. Don't get the results, you get questioned. Yeah. And as I say, when you've been in boxing long enough, if you want to really be here, you have to learn to deal with these sort of situations, because it's not always going to go your way. Yeah. every world class coach or Hall of Fame coach, listen, they have wins and they have losses on their record.
Yes.
Emmanuel Stewart, one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
Hearns, one of my favourites of all time.
Yeah, I love Hearns.
Hearns lost fights.
Yeah.
You know, all these trainers, they have fighters that win. Some they win their fights. Majority of them. Every now and then they'll lose a fight. You have to be big enough to accept it.
Yeah, I'm not really one of these that's obsessed with losing the zero, because losses are lessons, and it's something that you can go back over and come back and improve, because they take learning lessons from it. It's how they come back. Soon as the fight was older, Dillian bowled onto the camera in front of Eddie Hearn, said rematch. Yeah, you could see how hurt he was. I don't even think I saw Dillian hit the canvas. I just turned the TV off and went to bed. I couldn't, I was that devastated, because he's been chasing boxers, and I'm trying not to let this get personal. But he's been chasing boxers for a very, very long time. He's been putting his name out there. Like I said, he's worked extremely hard during his career. I remember him doing backstreet interviews with IFL to where he is now. So you kind of you're on that journey with the boxer. You're part of that journey. So to see that, it was devastating. And the world that we live in today, there's so many keyboard warriors. There's so many YouTube boxing fanatics with so many opinions, but haven't stepped in a ring. And a lot of the blame, I find that if a fighter loses, the blame goes to the trainer. We've seen it with loads of people. How do you feel about that? As a trainer, how does that make you feel? You know, you see Dillian hit the canvas, he loses that fight. This is your first, it's your debut with him. You're the key trainer. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel the same way I did when one of the amateurs that I was building lost his first amateur fight. Yeah. But it was the same feeling. Yeah. Nobody wants to lose. And when if you've been a fighter before, fighters are naturally very competitive. Yeah. I refuse to let anyone get the better of me. So the fact that it happened a couple of times, I used to lose sleep and make sure I go back and just have to try and get that work again. Yeah. That's just the feeling. So of course, I'm very, very disappointed, but at the same time, we've got a job to do. It's unfinished business. Absolutely. If the rematch wasn't on the table, obviously then it's a different kind of energy. But listen, you've got the rematch, you've got a chance to right the wrong. So focus on that. Yeah. Focus on that. That's what's coming. Yeah. You can't change what happened before. Yeah. You've got to move forward. Yeah. We've got to. We just need to finish the job. Dillian, I was very, very proud of Dillian's performance, to be honest with you, because the way he was setting his shots up, and the catch left hooks, it was perfection. Up to that point, obviously it wasn't perfect, because Dillian can look a lot better than that. Okay. Dillian can when I say to people, you have not seen the best of him yet. Dillian can look a lot better than that. But what he was doing was good enough to beat a guy of that caliber. So he's got to take positive from it. Yeah. And learn from it. And he's got this challenge, and he's got even bigger challenges coming. So this is boxing. The roller coaster ride has just started again. Let's put it that way. Yeah. It's like the sport. I call it the game of snakes and ladders. You win in 1 minute, and then you drop down the ladder the next, and you just got to keep going till you get to the end of the board. Boxing is a very emotional sport, even for a boxing fan. So for yourselves, for the boxer, it's tough. But moving forward, then he's back in camp. He doesn't seem like he's left camp. He's always training. I see stories on Instagram where you lot are all in the gym training hard, no days off. You've mentioned that Povetkin with his COVID is the match has been possibly put back till March, but there's been a lot of internet rumours about a possible bout with, I think Deontay Wilder's mentioned his name, funnily enough, after saying he was going to freeze him out for 2 years. And we've also heard the mention of Louis Ortiz.
can I put any of those rumours to bed? Is it Povetkin in March, or is there something else bubbling? Or are you going to tell me, I can't tell you anyway? So, but thanks for asking.
I can only tell you that at the moment it looks like March 6th, but I can't say anything else. But that's the date that we're looking to fight.
Because I know that Dillian doesn't like to sit still for too long. That's why I asked the question. And there's stuff going around about Ortiz and, you know, Wilder, even though I'm not sure about that one. I think there's more possibility of him fighting Ortiz than there would be of Wilder. Ruiz has also mentioned some stuff as well. I think he's on his weight loss. Yeah, he's on his weight loss journey at the moment. I think their two styles would gel quite well. Ruiz and Dillian are sort of like 1-2 with their step forward, and they're aggressive like that. They're not bouncers around. So I think their styles would gel quite well in the ring. Ruiz has renownedly got fast hands, but then Dillian comes with those. He's got a good jab. I think Dillian's jab's quite underrated as well, even though he's known for his left hook, his devastating left hook. What do you think about that fight?
I like all those fights. But I think Dillian against any of these guys is a good fight. Dillian's never in boring fights. He's always in good fights. Even when he was out of shape, even when he wasn't in shape, we went to Saudi. We had like 2-3 weeks notice for that fight, and the fight was still a good watch. That's just Dillian. That's why he's a pay-per-view fighter.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to pencil March the 6th in.
Yeah.
If anything pops out from then, I'm sure we'll hear about it. Oh, that is the question, because we're possibly going to be entering another full lockdown. But fortunately for yourselves, as elite professionals, you're all right. You can still train. But I don't know if that applies to amateur boxers. And
that's the problem. See, a lot of amateur boxers are wanting to turn pro now because of what's happened.
Yeah.
And it's a problem because a lot of them are not good enough. They're not good enough to go pro yet. I've turned down a few of mine. I told them, we need to get out, and there's no amateur boxing.
Yeah.
I said, honestly, you're not ready for pro boxing. I said that gladiator arena is not for you. It's not time yet. You're not seasoned yet. You're not ready. And that's in my opinion of you. And if you really want to go pro that badly, you'll have to leave my gym and go to another coach, because I won't put you in a situation where I don't think you're ready. So that's the frustration for the next 12, 18 months. I think it's going to be key. A lot of guys are turning pro, and honestly, it's not going to work out.
Right, okay. Well, that's honest, because at the end of the day, you could be greedy and churn them through quicker. But at least you're honest and giving them the best advice, what's good for them. You said you like them to have at least 20 amateur bouts. That's your cap. And then you'll know by then, is this for you? So how many bouts have they had?
The 20 bouts is like my ceiling.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, a lot of times it's the amount of time you've actually been in boxing. Like with the guy I mentioned earlier, Malik Kareem. Mm-hmm. I think he's 23 now, around 23, but he started boxing about 11.
Right, okay.
He didn't have more than maybe 12, 13 amateur fights. But you see, he was around a lot of gyms and sparring and stuff like that. He's been around it long enough to be, to absorb and understand the game. So he's ready. Yeah. So really, it's not really the number. It's more about when you're ready. But I like to cap that number. It's my own personal thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's 20 bouts under yourself. What if they've come from another train? Yeah, fair enough. Certain fighters have got something in them that they'll fight to the death, and they really want to hurt you. And that is not something that we see with all fighters. Some of them just want to hear the last bell. They just want to win because it's a sport. But there's some boxers that will go, to the death, and you can see that aggression.
That's what I like.
And I love to see that. And I do like to watch the Cuban fighters because of that. There's something in them that's just raw and rugged, and they'll do what it takes. So I've been a fan of Louis Ortiz for a while.
I find Mexicans more that way, really.
Yeah.
I like Mexican fighters. They got like a do or die attitude.
Yeah.
Yes, and they've been great fighters from Mexico and Puerto Rico, everywhere.
Yeah, it's over that side, isn't it? It's the Caribbean and the South American fighters. Yeah. Thank you very, very much for your time. Is there anything that you want to mention before we finish this interview?
Yeah, just quickly, a shout out to my sponsors, because obviously they've been backing me for a long, long time. Tiger Bay, that's P, Mubs and Sunit, been great guys. Always helped me out. Ealing Boards and Timber's been great. KMT Apparel's been amazing. It's Kevin from KMT. And my boxing glove company, Bravos, customize all my stuff, all my gear.
Okay.
All these sponsors always help me out with my fighters, because a lot of these guys, they're on small shows. They've got to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And they always offer to either buy us an amount of tickets or pay for strength conditioning or pay for fight kits, but they always support in some way.
Yeah.
They all come together and they all support. So, and that's been from the very start when I turned pro. They've been helping me out. So, I always say strength in numbers. That's why we've come this far.
Yeah.
And, long may it continue. It's been. I've had very good people around me. Very good people around me. I mean, I've worked. Obviously, I've been in boxing a long time. I've worked very hard.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need a bit of luck, and I've been at the right place at the right time and been around the right people. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, like you said, it's all about timing. Boxing is timing, and everything to do with it is on timing. Appreciate that. So, what you got planned for the rest of the day now?
I've got. What time is it now?
It's UK time, 15:15.
Yeah, at the same time. So in about 3-4 hours, I've got to go and train Dillian. So yeah, just resting at the moment.
Ooh. And how long are you out there for?
I've been out here since March.
So you literally just, I don't know, come home for a bit. You just don't come home?
I've been home for a total of, I'd say 10 days for the whole year.
Wow.
I went home for a few days after Dillian's last fight.
Yeah.
For about a week. And that was it. I've been here ever since. I couldn't leave during this time, because obviously you can't fly in and out at the moment. So
no, you can't.
I didn't want to live in a break camp. I've got it's a huge responsibility. I don't obviously me being Dillian's head coach, it's important for the two of us to be there.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we've got business to take care of, and we're just getting on with it.
Yeah, I like the family mentality. Well, the family attitude. I see that, like I said, the banter on Instagram. You like beasting each other in the gym.
Yeah, he likes it. I bloody don't.
He
won't leave me. He won't leave me alone.
Yeah.
I like to be quiet. He's a lunatic. I'm telling you, and he'll make it 10 times worse.
Yeah, he's banter bully, isn't he? He'll find your weakness and he'll keep digging. And that's why I would have liked to have seen him. I would have liked to have seen him and Wilder fight before all of this, only because the press conference, the lead up. Because you know what, Dillian, well, we've seen it all. We've seen tables thrown. He gets under your skin. Even the press that the gloves are off that he had originally with Anthony Joshua, it was like, Dillian is the entertaining geezer. When he was on the undercard, was that Chisora 1 when Anthony Joshua fought Molina? Who was on the undercard for that? Who was he fighting? But that fight, it was the table throwing, the Chisora. That fight, everyone was looking forward to that more than the AJ fight, because this is what he brings. He brings entertainment to the division, and you can't knock that. He's a proper entertaining fighter. So that press I would have loved to have seen. And also him and Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury also likes to play psychological mind games, and he does that. And that's how he bullied Wilder. He got into his head. That battle was already won before he got in the ring. So that would have been interesting as well. I like all of that.
You're going to see it all, though.
Yeah.
You're going to see it all. Every time you see it all.
I look forward to it. But anyway, I can't believe I've had you for nearly an hour and a half. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I hope that we can do it again. And now you're going to block my number. It's like, oh no, October.
No, after the fight, no problem. Contact me.
October Red on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And don't forget, at October Red, we stay ready.
See, okay, ready.